Rest of us are all seated in a chair that are facing the king, including Layla's father and Brainan, who are also invited to the meeting along with us. Now then, the king of the underground says as he gets a serious expression in his eyes, I believe we should get straight to the point. When I was told of your group, I wasn't aware that the Stillwater girl was in your team. But now that I know she is with you, everything makes much more sense. Am I correct in assuming that you all came here to kill the king of Allender? We did, Melinda says, but I don't remember even meeting you. How did you know who I am? Well, I don't know your name, the king says, but I've had informants in the palace for quite some time. 8 years ago, they told me how a Stillwater girl wearing pajamas was banished from our continent by the Mad King. Luckily for me, you're still wearing the same type of clothes, so it was easy for me to recognize you, even after having been given such a vague description. It is amazing that he can tell all that. That is fascinating. Hey, Melinda says, I'll have you know that these clothes are in no way similar to what you people wear as pajamas. Tell me, what pajamas have you ever seen with such an elegant design and high quality fabric? Do you have any idea how long it took me to find someone capable of customly tailoring these clothes for me? 600 years ago, the only people who didn't wear these type of garments were servants and prisoners. Nowadays, people can't even tell that they are not meant to be sleepwear is outrageous. But well, styles change, I suppose. My apologies, the king of the underground says. I did not mean to insult your clothing. I was simply repeating what my men have told me. I imagine that the most clothes would start to feel uncomfortable once you've gotten used to wearing only garments made of such fine silk. Yes, Melinda says, that is exactly why I can't bring myself to wear any other types of clothes. Finally someone gets it. So, the king says, trying to get back to the more relevant topic, should I take it that your real reason for coming back to Wraithia is to rescue your brother? That is none of your business, Melinda says, frowning, as the rest of us turn our heads towards her. Of course, the king said, it's always been a bad habit of mine to pry into other people's personal affairs. What you say is true. As long as I know that your group is aiming to assassinate the king, I should not be concerned with what you plan to do after you walk out of the city. Very well. In that case, I believe it should be in our best interest to cooperate for now. However, there is a question that I would like to ask of all of you before we delve into further details. Is your purpose here only to eliminate the king, or do you also have an interest in what happens to the city after you leave? She has a brother. I kind of just read over that and didn't even register it. She has a brother that she needs saving. Is the brother also a Stillwater? Because otherwise he would be dead. 600 years and all that. And if he is a Stillwater, how the hell are they containing him? Maybe through some powerful means or whatever. So, do we only care about killing the king, or we care about the city? We do care about the city because Barry went ahead against all my wishes and went like, oh, I want to be the hero, the justice warrior, the SPD team, the fucking whatever, Power Rangers. And he just can't keep him up. I really wish there was a show or a novel or something like that, a game where I could, slowly and steadily mold the character in the way I want to mold him properly. But apparently just doesn't work that way. So unfortunately, Barry is a good guy. So we are going to say, and he also said to Aiden that he will save all the cities and all that. So we'll go with, we do care what happens with the city after the king's death, actually. The king of the underground says, does it mean you would seek to make yourself rulers of the kingdom once you rid yourself of the current king? No, nothing of this order. And says, we simply want to make sure that whoever takes on the mantle of leadership next will have the people of Allender's best interest at heart. The king of underground says, well, it hasn't yet been decided who will become the next ruler after we deal with the king, but I'm sure you that we only want what's best for Allender. We have all had to suffer the consequences of the king. Unreal's tyranny is one way or another. We do not intend to make the same mistakes as him. You said that it hasn't yet been decided who will become the next ruler, Luna says. Does this mean that you are not planning to become king yourself? Well, no, not necessarily, the king of underground says. There are many good people here, both among my followers and among the rebels, who have made suitable candidates. We could even try to elect a council in order to avoid giving one person too much power again. However, those matters will be discussed in more detail once we achieve our primary goal of dethroning the Mad King. Everything else comes second. So is this the reason why you called us here? Kate says, you want our two groups to join forces. That would be the main gist of it. Yes, the King of Underground says, however, I would like to ask you one important question. How exactly were you planning to get past all the defenses the king has in place before you could get close enough to assassinate him? We didn't really know much about the city's defenses before he came here, so we couldn't make any preparation in advance, Hodrick says. Our plan was more or less to head straight for the palace and then just wing it. I suspected that this might have been the case, the King of the Underground says. Unfortunately, as you may have already found out, trying to simply fight your way to the palace is not the wisest solution. You've only had to fight against 3 of the royal guards so far, and still you were unable to defeat them. Imagine what would happen if you had to fight all of them at once. Actually, Your Majesty, Albert says, the outsider only fought 2 of the royal guards. The mercenary did not join the battle. That makes things even worse, the King of the Underground says. Remember that the king has the ability to instantly summon all the royal guards to his position in case of an emergency. It is unlikely that you will ever be able to touch him without defeating all those guards before. And then there are also the overseer spawns that are always circling the sky, watching your every movement. You can't hope to win against such odds without at least some inside information. So what do you propose then? Melindros says. Propose that you follow one of our plans instead, the king says. Recently, our listening devices from the palace picked up on an interesting conversation I think you might want to hear. Albert, do you still have the recording from yesterday? Yes, Your Majesty, Albert says as he approaches the king, then hands him a small metal cube-shaped device with several buttons on it. The king picks up the device and then presses on one of the buttons. Immediately afterwards, we begin to hear 2 voices coming from the cube, although we can't really make out what they're trying to say just yet. This is a conversation between Billy Bob and the Overseer, the king says. Overseer is the one with the more metallic sounding voice, in case you couldn't tell. Please tell me what you think of this discussion once you've done listening to it. After a few more seconds, the sound coming from the metal device became clearer, and we're finally able to understand what the 2 voices are saying. That's not what I'm asked you, you blasted machine. We hear Billy Bob shouting. What I want to know if the rebel are the ones responsible for blowing up my architectural masterpiece yesterday. Question unclear, the Overseer says. Please define architectural masterpiece. The Overseer protocol has so far recorded 31 instances of you calling one of your design buildings an architectural masterpiece. You know which one I'm talking about, you useless piece of scrap metal. Billy Bob says, only one of my buildings blew up yesterday. That is incorrect. Overseer says, only yesterday you talked about 3 of your latest design blowing up overnight, and you have also used the same expression to describe several other buildings of yours in the past whenever they become popular very quickly. No, I mean literally blowing up, Billy Bob says, as in exploding. Do you understand? I'm talking about an explosion. What is wrong with you? You do not understand the basics of common language. Fix your damn problems already. Complaint acknowledged, the Overseer says. Overseer protocol is now updating the vocabulary in order to better be able to assist you. Please stand by. There is a short, yeah, the Overseer protocol is either malfunctioning or just like being completely passive aggressive, and I'm going with the passive aggressive. I'm guessing it is actually intelligent, an actual AI, a proper one. Thank you for your patience. All instances of expressions to blow up will henceforth be interpreted as to explode. The Overseer protocol will now begin an investigation in order to find the cause for your 3 buildings exploding overnight. Are you mocking me? Billy Bob says the Overseer protocol does not possess the ability to mock. Overseer says the protocol's only purpose is to provide assistance. If you're unsatisfied with the service provided, you can state your complaint and your request will be handled as soon as possible. Forget it, Billy Bob says. I'll just go ask the guards for the information I need. I feel like I'm becoming dumber simply by being near you. I don't want to hear anything else from you today unless it's extreme emergency. Do you understand? So the Overseer protocol does know we are here to kill the king. We did tell him. So yeah, request acknowledged, the Overseer says. Have a good day. Billy Bob says, and then we hear him walk away from the Overseer. Well, that was something. Roderick says, it's not over yet. The king says, listen. About 10 seconds of silence, we hear the faint sound of door being closed coming from the recording device. Then we hear the voice of the Overseer one last time. The Overseer protocol's only purpose is to provide assistance, the Overseer says again. If you are in need of any more help, feel free to activate the protocol by asking any of the green-eyed units to put you in contact with the Overseer. Have a good day. The metal cube then becomes silent again, but this time it actually looks like the recording has actually ended. I don't get it. Why did you make us listen to this recording? What information does it give us that we didn't already know? Did you not notice? The king of the Armenians says. That last line of the overseer wasn't directed towards the Lassetti. Billy Bob had already left the room by the time, so you could very well hear for yourself. We are also quite certain that there was nobody else there, because otherwise our listening device would have at least recorded them opening or closing the door, which leaves only the possibility that the overseer was talking by itself. Now, why do you think an intelligent machine would do such a thing? Who knows? Others says maybe it malfunctioned or something. That is one possibility, the king says. However, another more likely possibility is that the overseer is a little smarter than we think.